Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we will be reacting to his story. So before we just get into the videos, I'm just gonna go to a random one, I guess.
The videos might have cuss words, so if you're under the age of 9, maybe ask your parents to watch this. But probably there won't be any cuss words.
Yeah, because
and there will be no inappropriateness. We will just skip the
well, if there is, then I will just skip the video.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, let's start with
I was
this.
working my first ever McDonald's shift when a dad came in with his two bratty snot-nosed twins. "We want nuggets." They had their hands in the air, screaming so loud the old lady nearby dropped her coffee. The dad slammed. I was working my first ever McDonald's shift when a dad came in with his two bratty snot-nosed twins. "We want nuggets." They had their hands in the air, screaming so loud the old lady nearby dropped her coffee. The dad slammed his hands like I was his personal servant. "I want 50 nuggets and I want them now. My kids haven't eaten all day and they don't like to wait." He snapped his fingers, and I noticed his twins literally drooling whilst looking at the nuggets in the back. "That'll be $14, but he got in my face. "Why the hell does it cost so much?" I raised my hands. "I just work here. I don't set the prices." His kids immediately punched his arms. "We don't care what it costs. Just give us nuggets." His face twisted as he tossed a bunch of coins onto the counter. "Keep the change. A McDonald's worker probably needs it." My hands shook angrily as I counted, and suddenly a dozen straws hit my face, one poking my left eye. My vision blurred and one of the twins pointed at me. "That's for being so slow. Now go make the nuggets." He snapped his fingers. The dad was now leaning against a pillar scrolling his phone, while his kids got on a table chanting, "We want nuggets," and throwing crayons around. I wasn't paid enough to deal with this, but I had enough pride to do it anyway. I slowly walked to the back, holding my sore eye, and packed 50 nuggets just like they asked. I brought the box back out with a devious grin. "What took you so long?" The twins immediately grabbed it with their greedy fingers, their eyes lighting up as snot dripped onto their t-shirts. They tore it open, and instantly their jaws dropped in horror. Every nugget had been individually wrapped and sellotaped, 50 tiny parcels. Each one would take minutes to open. I looked at the three entitled stooges. "Now enjoy your nuggets. They taste better when you work for them anyway." I was working my first ever McDonald's shift when a dad came in with his two bratty snot-nosed twins. "We want nuggets." Our teacher snapped the white chalk in half and aggressively wrote in all caps, "New rule, be happy all the time." We all glanced at each other, and for a second we thought Miss Ticker was being chill for once, until she put her hands on her hips and screamed, "Well, I don't see any of you following the rules. Smile, now, or you're all expelled." The entire class forced a smile
Imagine being expelled for not being happy.
from ear to ear, not knowing how far this was about to go. 20 minutes went by and my cheekbones were starting to hurt. I looked around and some people's eyes were twitching. Miss Ticker turned to face us. "See, isn't this lovely? Now when the principal comes for the student happiness survey, I'm going to get a 10 out of 10. But Victor, the class clown who sat in the back, stood up so fast his chair knocked over. "This is insane. You can't force us to look happy just because you got a 2 out of 10 last year. That's not how that works." I slammed my hands on the table and stood to join him. "Did you even get the principal's permission to do this?" In response, she grabbed her ruler and smacked it against the chalkboard. "Sit down and follow the rule, now." But we stood even higher with our chests puffed out, refusing to give in to Ms. Ticker anymore. She walked over to me and looked me in the eyes. "I'm bigger than you, smarter than you, and I have more power than you. If you know what's good for you, sit down and keep smiling. You will never outsmart me." Suddenly, Arthur, the goody two-shoes with muscular dystrophy and weak bones in the back, started choking up. We all turned to face him, and he was hurled over his desk. "Please, I can't smile anymore." I immediately ran to Miss Ticker's desk and grabbed her phone to dial 911. The paramedics stormed in to work on Arthur, and the principal came in and towered over Miss Ticker. "Get your things." I told her to smile on the way out, but she couldn't. She wanted a happy classroom. She got one the second she left it. Our teacher snapped the white chalk in half and I was teaching The Great Gatsby to my third period when the door slammed open and 6 men with rifles came pouring into my classroom. "Hands, show me your hands. On the ground, now." I dropped my marker and threw my hands up. Okay, my students. I have students in here." The officer had his rifle locked on my chest and kept shouting over me, "On your knees, down, now." I went down slowly while I kept trying to talk to him. "Please, just tell me what this is. I have 28 kids in this room." He wouldn't say anything back and the rifle stayed pointed at my face, and that's when I looked looked at my students and saw not a single one of them had moved. I had to make this man listen before one of them flinched. I turned my head back up to the officer and tried again. "Sir, who called you? What did they tell you?" He stepped closer with the rifle still up. "Report came in. You were armed and threatening your students. Stay down. Shut up." I knew exactly who called. It's my ex-wife. She lost custody of our son last week, and she's been texting me threats ever since. My phone is in my pocket. Just look at the messages. He didn't lower the rifle, but he glanced at the kid in the front row who was still frozen with her highlighter pressed to the page. Then a kid in the back row named Trevor, who hadn't said 3 words all year, slowly raised his hand. The officer's eyes snapped to Trevor, but the rifle didn't move. He kept it locked on me. Trevor's hand stayed up, and when he finally got the words out, his voice was shaking. "Sir, Mr. Davis didn't do anything. We were just reading. I swear. Please ask any of us." The officer held the rifle on me for 1 more second before he slowly lowered it and swept his eyes across the room. 28 kids sat at their desks with their Gatsby copies open in front of them. He keyed his radio and his voice dropped quiet. "Stand down. We're clear in here. It's nothing." He looked back down at me and reached into my pocket. He pulled out my phone. I unlocked it with my face still pressed to the floor. He scrolled through the texts, stopped on one, then another, then 10 more. Every single message came from the same number under the same name. He handed the phone to the officer behind him. "Go pick her up tonight." He held a hand out and pulled me up off the floor. He couldn't meet my eyes. "Sir, I'm sorry. We should have asked questions first. They raided her apartment that night. She was in cuffs by midnight. She'd told me once I'd never see the inside of a classroom again. I taught 3rd period the next morning while she sat in a cell waiting on 5 years. I was teaching the Great Gatsby
5 years?
to my I was 7 when my dad got ready to leave me and my mom. I'll be home soon. I'm going to find us diamonds, and we'll be... I was in prison playing cards when an 18-year-old kid
sorry,
walked
he's
through
in
the door with a
prison?
big smile on his face. "Anybody here see me on the news?"
None of these
Nobody
is
answered.
connected
He leaned
by-
against the wall with his arms crossed. 3 kids killed in a school
That looks like a kid. You're a kid? And you came to prison?
shooting. That was me. He said it the way someone might say they...
You're in school? Wait, I'm restarting this.
I was in prison playing cards when an 18-year-old kid walked through the
Oh,
door with a big
18-year-old.
smile on his
That's what I
face.
said.
"Anybody here see me on the news?" Nobody answered. He leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. 3 kids killed in a school shooting. That was me. He said it the way someone might say they won a trophy. I watched every face in the room go cold. I saw a wasp climbing on my girlfriend's calf and immediately hit it with my sandal. Cynthia stood from the couch. "Babe, why the hell did you just hit me?" I scratched my head to think of a lie because she was deathly allergic to wasps and I didn't want to scare her. There was a fly on your leg." She turned to me. "So what? It doesn't mean you have to hit me." Before I could respond, I saw another wasp climbing on her arm and smacked it again. Where were they all coming from? Cynthia smacked my hands off and sprung up from the couch. "What is wrong with you?" She started to walk to her room and turned around to say, "I think you should leave." But when I turned around to face her, I saw Cynthia's face go completely pale and she was pointing at the door. What is that?" I peered over and saw that resting by the door was a wasp nest the size of a basketball, gray and breathing, already swarming with wasps that were coming in underneath the doorframe. Cynthia screamed, "Ah!" and the entire nest of wasps all turned to face her. I knew I had to do something or she'd be toast. Without thinking, I grabbed her arm and shoved her out the door. "Go!" As soon as she walked out, I grabbed the nest and threw it into the center of the living room and locked the door shut with me inside it so they wouldn't chase her down the street. The wasps started covering me and she hit the window with both fists. "Open the door, babe." I shook my head. A sting would just hurt me, but one would kill her, so I wasn't opening anything. I saw a wasp climb.
They're so nice. But sad.
I was sitting cross-legged in a ryokan in front of a
Oh.
small wooden table when the owner Hiroshi poured my cup of tea. He set the pot down. "After this meal, you will eat dessert alone." My chopsticks froze halfway to my mouth. "What do you mean?" "But we've had dessert together every night for the last 2 years." Hiroshi gestured at my bowl. "Everything comes to an end. Now eat your noodles while they're hot." He poured himself a bowl and picked up his chopsticks. "Are you serious, Hiroshi? You're not eating dessert with me?" He smiled at me. As serious as the wind out at sea. I squeezed my chopsticks in frustration.
Hello?
I was sitting cross
I want to watch this one. Our neighbor had it coming. Huh? Maybe if I like, it will. Okay, let's just skip that.
I was playing with my pet snake when my friend
have
leaned over.
A pet snake. You have a pet snake?
I just
Wait,
choked on my
I'm
saliva.
I'm watching the comments.
Watching this.
Not to.
No, it won't.
And stared at it with narrow eyes. Is it true that anacondas can choke people out? I told him yes, and he instantly leaned back in his chair and put his arms over his head. I don't think it could choke me out. I laughed, but Wesley immediately sat up. I'm serious. Let your anaconda try choke me. If it succeeds, I'll give you $200. If not, you give me the $200. Deal? I thought about whether I wanted to risk my friend's life for $200. Then I shook his hand. Deal. I carefully placed Piper around his neck. Wesley smirked. You have to be pretty weak for something with no arms to choke you out, and I've been hitting the gym. This anaconda won't do a thing to me. Piper settled around his trachea, and I told Wesley, tap out once it gets too much. But he waved his hand dismissively. What kind of loser needs a safe word for this? I'm ready whenever. Bring it on. I looked at him one more time, then gave Piper the signal. She started barely squeezing Wesley's neck, but his eyes instantly went wide. That's a lot, but I think I can hold it, he said, trying to look confident. I told him Piper wasn't even trying, and suddenly she squeezed harder. Wesley instantly gasped and tried to pull her off because his face had started turning purple. I asked, do you want to tap? But he shook his head, wheezing no, and pulling harder. I got this. Piper's muscles weren't even tensed, yet Wesley was now shaking in his chair, his veins popping as he pulled hard as he could. His face was blue, and Piper just kept squeezing. I was about to call her off anyway, when Wesley began tapping out. Get her off me, he wheezed. I snapped my fingers, and Piper instantly released, returning back to me. Wesley collapsed off the chair, holding his throat on the floor and gasping for air. He didn't have the air in his lungs to protest as I took my $200. I was playing with my pets. Me and my best friend poked his dad's round belly during our sleepover. I sat alone in the dark and cold interrogation room, my handcuffs.
Okay, bro.
I was eating breakfast when the hospital called. Your daughter has been in an accident. I put my fork down. I don't have a daughter. She told us to call you, and she keeps asking for you by name. I don't know why, but I got in my car and drove straight there. At the hospital, a social worker stopped me in the hallway. She was hit by a car, broken ribs, a fractured wrist, a bad concussion. I started to tell her I'd never met this girl, but she put her hand up. She woke up asking for you and she hasn't stopped. Whoever you are, she needs someone right now, because her parents aren't here. I walked in, and she looked so small in that big hospital bed, her face bruised and one arm in a cast. She reached for me with her good hand. Dad, you came. I sat down next to her and she smiled up at me. How's Peanut doing? I went completely still, because how did this random girl know my dog's name? I sat until she fell asleep, then picked up her phone from the table. She had no texts, no miss.
What type of phone is that? Wait. It looked like an iPad.
Calls. One contact
It's
saved
a
as my
phone
hero,
now.
and the number was mine.
it's a
The photos were an empty fridge and a selfie she'd taken alone in an apartment with no furniture. I was the only name in this kid's phone. I found a nurse and asked if anyone had heard from her parents. They said they're not coming back from their cruise. She's stable and someone's already there. Someone was me. I set the phone down and sat in the chair by her bed all night. When she woke up and found me still in the chair, she started crying. I know you're not my dad. For a second I couldn't say anything, so I just let her talk. I found your videos, the ones about getting through hard times, and I watched everyone because you were the only thing that helped when home got bad. She picked at the frayed edge of her cast, still not looking at me. When they asked who to call, you were the only number I wanted. You can go. I know this isn't your problem. I thought about the empty fridge, the bare apartment, and the parents who wouldn't come home from their cruise. I pulled my chair right up to the bed and took her good hand. I'm not going anywhere. That afternoon, I told the social worker I wanted to report the neglect and start the paperwork to foster her. 6 weeks later, she was unpacking boxes in her new room. Her parents didn't fight the paperwork. Peanut kept stealing socks out of the box, and she kept chasing him around the room, laughing. I was eating breakfast when the
I picked up a phone, picks up a random iPad.
hospital. Me and my roommate arrived home to an eviction notice on our apartment door. I immediately tore it down, and we read it. Last 3 months' rent not paid. You have a week to move out. I started panicking because we were screwed, but that's when Theo nudged me. Dude, what is that on the back? I flipped it over and found an advertisement for a game show. Or, you can defeat the world's deadliest obstacle with a friend tonight and win the ownership rights of any building in the city. It was hosted by our landlord. I was already scanning the QR code to sign up. We don't have a choice. We gotta do it. That night, we both showed up, and the first thing we saw was our landlord in a gold glittery suit, holding a microphone and screaming to the audience of over 5,000 people. Without further ado, let's get started, everyone. We excitedly sprinted towards the elevator that carried us up all the way to 5,000 feet in the air. I started sweating like crazy. Is this even legal? Theo shrugged. Better than being homeless. We walked out and saw a bunch of other brokies our age, all waving to us like they understood why we were there. Vance tapped his microphone. All right, you all have 3 minutes to make it across the platform without falling down into the pool of water below. below. I grabbed Theo's hand. "We got this, bro. We're gonna be rich." We sprinted across the spinning cylinders, already out of breath, and I wondered if this would all be worth it. When we got to the other side, I collapsed from exhaustion, but Theo instantly pulled me back up. "Dude, look, we're the last ones standing." I stood up and couldn't believe how easy it was, until all the lights turned red. Congratulations to Theo and Ross. Now there's only one obstacle left. Me and Theo looked at each other completely confused, because this wasn't part of the deal. Suddenly, a red button emerged in the middle of the obstacle. Vance smiled. "The first one to press it gets ownership of the building, and an additional $400,000 bonus. The other gets nothing." A clock lit up that counted down from 60 seconds. Me and Theo locked eyes. "Dude, you should take it and put your brother in private school. It's not fair that he has to spend his childhood being bullied." I shook my head. "No, I know your mom's been struggling since the cancer diagnosis. Press it and use the money to pay for her treatment." Neither of us moved. Buzz. Time ran out. "You both lose," Vance said. "Get them off my stage." We both got in the elevator, finally getting ready to accept our homelessness. But when we walked out, every single person in the audience was chanting our names and booing Vance. He sweated nervously. "Guys, I'm just following the rules of the game." But the audience kept screaming and holding up signs. "Pay them both or we're not coming back. No crowd, no show." Theo raised his fist over his mouth and laughed. "Dude, they're on our side." I was too amazed to respond, and Vance had no choice. He signed his own building over and handed us both a duffel bag filled with $400,000 each, jaw clenched. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the same eviction notice we'd torn off our door. "It's our building now. You've got a week to move out." Me and my roommate arrived home.
Did he win?
The smartest kid in class raised his hand. "Sir, what's 6 plus 7? I facepalmed because Stadio had aced every test, but was always pretending not to know the answers to the most obvious questions. Half of the math class burst out laughing, and a boy by the window muttered, "He's joking, right? Why was he always asking me questions that even he knew were stupid?" After the bell, I kept him behind, and when the room was empty, I leaned on the desk in front of him. "You ace every test I give you," I said.
My mom turned green. Okay, I want to watch that. Maybe it will work if I like. Nope.
I was 5 minutes from home when I accidentally dropped my mom's phone on the sidewalk and completely shattered. It was the last week of school. I was 5 minutes from home when I accidentally dropped my mom's phone on the sidewalk and completely shattered the screen. I stared in horror. She'd let me borrow it for school that morning, but only after making me swear on my life. She said, "Do not break this. This case is foolproof, so there's no excuse." Now there was a giant spiderweb crack right in the middle. I panicked and
Foolproof. I think I've seen this one. No, I
pressed my thumb on the glass to push it together, but the crack just spread wider. I had to fix this before I got my ass whooped. I speed walked home, praying my mom wasn't there yet. I slipped through the door. "Mom?" Nothing. She wasn't home. I ran to the bathroom and remembered a video that said toothpaste fixes cracked screens, so I squeezed a huge glob on and rubbed it into the cracks. But when I wiped it off, it looked 10 times worse. White gunk smeared into every crack and even got into the charging port. I felt lightheaded and decided the only way was to get it fixed professionally. So I sprinted to the phone repair store down the street. The guy behind the counter picked it up and barely looked at it. $200. My heart sank. I'm 10. I emptied my pockets, but I had $6 and gum. "Isn't there anything cheaper?" He wouldn't budge. I felt defeated, holding the cracked phone, with no idea what to do. And the second I stepped outside the store, I heard a car horn. I looked up. It was my mom, parked right in front of the store, staring straight at me. I got in the car, and she asked why I was at the phone repair store. I immediately burst into tears. "I dropped your phone and the screen shattered. I tried everything. Please don't kill me." My mom took the phone from my shaking hands. She said nothing, which felt worse. But then she peeled the screen protector off. Underneath, the screen was perfectly fine. The whole time, I'd only cracked the protector. I drop it all the time. Why do you think I have a foolproof phone case? For a second, I felt pure relief. But then she tried to turn it on to charge it, and nothing happened. A glob of toothpaste oozed out of the charging port. Her face went flat. She handed the dead phone back to me. "You're not getting a phone until college." I was 5 minutes. It was the last week of school, and our bus was completely out of control that morning. Music blasting and homework flying through the air. "Sit down!" Mr. Carter's voice cracked over the intercom, but we barely heard him over our chaos. He missed the first turn for school, and we laughed, but when he did not turn around, everyone stopped smiling. "Mr. C, school's that way," Jenna called out. He kept driving with his foot pressing harder on the gas, and his eyes locked straight ahead, like we weren't even there. We'd finally pushed the grumpiest bus driver in the district over the edge. Jenna started shaking. "Oh my God. God, he's kidnapping us. He swung onto the highway on ramp and merged so hard that kids grabbed the seats in front of them and someone in the back started crying. Jenna ran up to the front of the bus, gripping the seats as he swerved between lanes. Please, Mr. Carter, we're sorry. Just take us to school. We tore through a Walmart parking lot, cutting between cars.
Okay, whatever. Oh, sorry for the ad.
The bell rung, and my brother threw the punch at his opponent, knocking him down and winning the fight. But as he was about to take the championship belt, he felt a knife dig into his ribs. His opponent's friends were so mad my brother won, they jumped into the cage and started stabbing him repeatedly. I tried to help, but I wasn't quick enough, and my brother bled out on the mat in front of me. The attackers grabbed the belt and sprinted out the side exit before security could catch them. Police issued warrants for their arrest, but 6 months passed, and authorities couldn't find them. I was told they likely fled the country. Yet despite this, the MMA organization published an article, issuing them a $500 fine for stealing the championship belt. The attackers actually wired the money, but still never returned the belt. The bell rung, and my brother threw the punch at his opponent, knocking him down and winning the fight. But as he was about to take the championship belt, he felt a knife dig into his ribs. At 2 in the morning, my phone rang, and my daughter's voice came through, tiny and terrified. Daddy, Mommy's gone, and I'm hungry, and I don't know what to do. I'd moved 6 hours away after things fell apart with her mom, but I was already grabbing my keys. What do you mean, sweetheart? The line went dead before she could answer. I called back, and it went straight to voicemail, so I tried my ex, but she didn't pick up. I'd been sending money for my girl every month, and my mom, who lived 10 minutes from her, always swore she was thriving. I tried her next, and got the same silence. I thought a woman in the grocery store smiled at me. Babe, who's watching the kids? I looked behind me, but nobody was there. What kids? She laughed. Very funny. Are they with your mom? I took a step back. Ma'am, I have never seen you before in my life. Her smile fell. Okay, the joke's getting old. She reached into my cart and started looking through my groceries. We have peanut butter at home. I looked around desperately for help, but an older woman nearby just smiled at us, like we were the cutest couple she had ever seen. Sorry, I think you have me confused with someone else. I tried to push my cart away, but the woman kept following me. Her cart clipped my heel in the frozen food aisle. Ignoring me isn't funny. We talked about this in therapy. A man nearby overheard and shook his head like I was the worst husband he'd ever seen, so I just stayed quiet. The crazy lady started loading frozen pizzas into my cart, and by the time I reached the checkout, all of her groceries were in my cart, and she was standing next to me with her arms crossed. Well, I paid $400 for groceries for a family I didn't have because I didn't want to make a scene. I shoved the bags into her cart and sprinted to the parking lot, fumbling for my keys. She hurried behind me, talking about picking up the kids from school, and didn't stop until she saw my car. Wait, where's your truck? I tried to tell you, I'm not your husband. Her hands were shaking as she pulled out her phone and showed me a photo of a man who looked exactly like me. This is my husband. Who are you? She called her husband on speakerphone, and we realized we had the same birthday. We need to go talk to my mom. His wife gave me the address, and I met him there. I felt sick to my stomach when we knocked on her door, and when she opened it, she started to cry. You had severe asthma, and as a single mom, the medical bills were destroying me. My twin's mouth fell open. So you kept the healthy baby and gave the other one away. She reached for... I wasn't nearly as excited as my 8-year-old brother was when Mom shoved 2 horror movie tickets into my hand and said, "Have fun, boys." I tried to hand them back. I don't do horror, but my mom walked away and got in the car. You're 16. You'll be okay. My brother tugged my sleeve. Don't worry. I know all the tricks. I watched a documentary. It's gonna blow your mind. Then he pulled me to the car, like he was the one driving. When we got there, the previews alone had me sweating. By the time the movie started, I was halfway under my seat. Something screamed on the screen, and I flinched so hard, I knocked his soda over. My brother patted my knee. You okay there, buddy? Then he leaned in with a fistful of popcorn and whispered, "Watch the bottom left." Something came from the bottom left and I yelped. He nodded. Told you. A few minutes later, a guy in a mask shuffled out of the dark, and just as I covered my eyes, my brother tapped my arm. Look at his shoes. Those are sneakers. It's a guy in a suit. I peeked through my fingers, and they were sneakers. A little later, I covered my eyes again, and he said, "Want me to narrate?" I nodded, so he did. Now she's running. Now she's tripping. Why do they always trip? Anyway, now she's dead. Around the halfway mark, he sighed, reached into his backpack, and handed me his stuffed T-Rex. Here, his name's Stomp. He helps. I held Stomp the whole drive home. When we walked in the door, my brother sprinted to Mom and yelled, "Mom, there was so much fake blood. It was awesome. Also, the lady got destroyed. Also, we need to get popcorn out of the car." He ate dinner, brushed his teeth, and went straight to bed at 9 and slept like a baby. I sat on the couch hugging Stomp with every light in the house on until 2 in the morning. Then I checked the closet 3 times and cracked my brother brother's room door open so I could hear him breathing. Mom came downstairs the next morning and said, "Rough night?" My brother walked past me with a bowl of cereal and said, "He's fine. He had stomp." I wasn't nearly as... My mom yanked my Game Boy mid-Pokemon battle and said I wasn't getting it back until report cards. She buried it in her closet under a stack of sweaters, but I peeked through the hallway and saw exactly where it went. 3 nights later, I waited for her snoring to shake the walls, crept across the hall, and slid it out. Back under my blanket, I popped in fresh AAs. My Charizard was level 47, and I was 1 route away from the Elite Four, the final 4 bosses standing between me and beating the whole game. I grinded on Victory Road for an hour, sweating under covers I couldn't kick off. The hallway floor creaked. I shoved the Game Boy under my blanket and held my breath until the silence settled back in. By 1 a.m., I walked into the Indigo Plateau, where the Elite Four were waiting. Lorelei, the first, fell in 3 turns. Bruno took my Lapras down with him before I dropped him next, 2 of the 4 already gone. Then footsteps came down the hallway, straight toward my door. I jammed the Game Boy under my pillow, rolled over, and squeezed my eyes shut. The door cracked open. Mom stood there for what felt like 10 years before easing it shut. I waited for her snoring to kick back in, then slid the Game Boy out and kept going. Agatha brought me down to my last Pokemon, hands shaking, until I landed a critical hit with 4 HP left. Lance was the last of the 4. He took out everyone but my Charizard before I finished him, and the screen started dimming. The battery icon flashed in the corner, but I told myself it would last. The champion appeared, my rival, the kid I'd been racing since Pallet Town. He was the last thing standing between me and the end of the game. We were both down to 1 Pokemon, and I tapped Fire Blast. Critical hit. The screen went white, and the game said, "You did it." I bit my pillow so I wouldn't scream. The Hall of Fame music played quiet and tinny. Each Pokemon scrolled across the screen. The save screen came up and I tapped yes, saving. Don't turn off the power. I couldn't hold it in. I jumped to my feet on the mattress, fists in the air, bouncing in silent celebration. The screen flickered. I froze mid-bounce. It went black. I shook the Game Boy, pressed every button, popped the battery cover. Both AAs were drained. The last save was from before I walked in. 6 hours of grinding. The Elite Four, the champion. As far as the game knew, none of it happened. My mom yanked my Game Boy mid-Pokemon battle and said, "Give it to me straight, Sergeant. How many are dead?" I slammed my hands on the table in my military uniform. My 6-year-old sister read from her piece of paper. 7 are dead. The rest are captured behind enemy lines. She looked over at Mom's chocolate container. The senior who'd keyed half the park. I was getting ready for my driving test.
Yes, sir. Okay, so which one do I watch? Wait, what is the one where it's in the aeroplane?
Yeah, that one's like probably at the top. Go to history. Here. No, go to charts. Check.
Or do I like search?
Search it up. History. Aeroplane.
I spelled it wrong. This is the one?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is the last one we are doing. Work.
No, go up, go.
I know. I'm just waiting for it, for one to work so that can work.
I was flying.
Oh, yay.
Bro.
I guess we're gonna react to this one.
I was flying a plane when a woman screamed from the cabin. "Oh my God!"
Stop!
I was flying a plane when a woman screamed from the cabin. "Oh my God, I need to speak to the captain right now!" The flight attendant walked into the cockpit rolling her eyes. "That's the 17th time she's pressed the button. She insists on talking to you about an urgent safety."
Now will it work? Okay, yeah, it's not working. Anyways, that's it for this video, guys. Bye!
I was flying a plane when a woman screamed.